What's going on, everybody? Tim from Tirfon Orbital. So this is going to be a very quick rundown video on a commission that I just recently finished. I would like to have a quick chat about my thoughts on the hilt itself, and then we'll do what we usually do. We'll go over the chassis because this is a custom chassis, and I'll just go over a quick demo of how to use it. We'll walk through some of the body modifications that I did, and then we'll be on our way, right? So this is for a Korbanth SKV3. Korbanth came out with a new rendition of the Starkiller hilt a couple of months ago. People are starting to get them in hand. I had some initial thoughts on this hilt when I first received it. This is the first newer edition of the Starkiller from Korbanth that I have held in hand, and the first thing you notice immediately is the grip. The grip is almost an inch and a half longer than their previous rendition of this hilt, and it's blatantly obvious that it's just longer. I'm not quite sure why they went with that, but there are some other things that are a little bit strange to me about the hilt. Not strange, but just, I have thoughts. So without this turning into another op-ed video, let's talk about the hilts, right? So let's bring it down. All right, so here it is. Whoops, what do we have here? All right, so I've got two Starkillers next to one another. This is the V2 from Korbanth. This is the new V3, and right off the bat, you'll notice how much longer this grip is. Okay, and one thing that I also didn't understand is on the new version, Korbanth did not make this ring copper. I don't get why they did that. But anyway, this was mine. This is an old build, and it was a Korbanth V2. Really love this hilt. Really love the Starkiller look, but the Korbanth V2 was not a bad hilt. Really liked it. So anyway, let's talk about what we're here for. Okay, so here it is, the Korbanth V3 Starkiller. We'll start at the pommel and make our way up. Okay, so we do have an unscrewable grip. Now, like I mentioned, the new version, Korbanth did not include like a copper ring around this. So what I ended up doing was I made my own. Okay, so this is a real brass ring that goes around the circumference of the grip. And I weathered it and affixed it to the grip itself. Making our way up, we've got our typical wasp waist that you see on most all Starkiller builds. Another thing that Korbanth shipped with this hilt are these weird decorative rings that go over this section, I guess to give it not the wasp waist look. It's nice to give people that option, but it was just strange to me. So anyway, those are included. Making our way further up, so with this crystal chamber, Korbanth does supply 2 blade mounting modules, and they are in like an anodized orange aluminum. I completely removed all of that orange anodization, and I faux bronzed it with SURFIN chemical bronzing agent to give it like a weathered crystal chamber look. We've got the client did request that I put a big crystal in this one, so this is a large quartz point, and back behind that I've just got some steel baffling to give it that weathered used look. The steel baffling has been heat stained as well. With this and most of my hilts, any hardware that is steel, I heat stain as well. So all of these screws are heat stained around this, and that's it. So these 6 screws are all heat stained as well. The bars, so Korbanth does give an option of 2 different crystal chamber grid gate bars. There's an aluminum version and that orange, again, with this orange. Okay. But those come with the hilt. I'm not a big fan of those either. So I did put some steel bars in front of the crystal chamber and heat stain those to make it look like there's some heat coming off that crystal. Making our way around back, we've just got our typical 2 tactile buttons, main and aux, and that's it. Everything has been weathered by me. I did a pass of aluminum black first, and then took that off. I also added some rust staining with some burnt ember, like acrylic wash paint to give it like a rusty look. And that's it, right? So let's talk about the chassis really quick. So here is the chassis. Yes, I did forget to mention something. So this is the chassis for this build, okay? It is a stationary chassis. Now you'll notice the nipple up atop that makes its connection to the rest of the hilt. I'm not super comfortable, having such a small diameter nipple taking a lot of the weight of this chassis. So we say time and time again that, all chassis, specifically resin, have a high potential for breaking, especially if you drop a hilt without the grip. Where that nipple connects to the rest of the hilt is usually the spot that breaks first. And because this is such a skinny, it is a wasp waist, so because it's such a skinny connection to the rest of that hilt, I was really not comfortable with that. Now I've seen some chassis designers do like a brass nipple that then connects. Why can't I say that? I've seen some chassis designers do like a brass nipple that connects to the rest of the chassis to make it a little bit more secure for Starkiller builds. But what I ended up doing was making holes on each side of the chassis and running all thread, like steel rod, all the way down the chassis to the end. Luckily for me, Korbanth put like 2 threaded holes on the upper part of the hilt, so I could just automatically thread that all thread into the hilt and then run them down the length of the chassis and secure them at the end. So it just gives it a little bit more strength, okay? The Proffie, this is a Proffie build, so Proffie sits here. It is press fit into this chamber. I did make a little bit of a chasm for some wire management here if I needed to make any splices. Kill switch around front, battery tray, and this has a 28 millimeter speaker from the Saber Merchant in this build, and just some regular greebly work around the sides, right? And that's it. So let's come down to the bottom or the top again, and we'll do I gotta grease up those threads. So here is the chassis. Okay, to use the hilt, you take mind of where your negative is. Spring side is your negative. That points towards the speaker. Take the flat part of your battery, rest it in the tray. Do try and cradle this chassis when you're putting the battery in. Hit your kill switch, and you're ready to go. Screw your grip on. Let's come down to the bottom here. So, crystal lights. There are 2 neopixels in this. Crystal chamber. We've got a top and a bottom. They are a single blade, and then we've got a regular blade up top. So there are 2 blades in the config. I'm going to turn that up a little bit. Oops. Okay. I did make a custom blade plug for this build as well. So I need to also say, sometimes I do a blade plug and sometimes I don't. I don't like advertising that all of my installs come with a blade plug, because they don't. It just kind of happens with inspiration. If I've got parts laying around for a blade plug and I can make one, I'll do it. So I did do a blade plug with this build. Top button is your main, bottom button is your aux. So let's put a blade in it. So with the Korbanth Starkillers, where the bunny ears are secured to the top of the hilt, there are 2 screws. The top screw is your blade retention screw. So you want to unscrew that, pop out your blade plug, rest your blade in the top. Screw in your retention screw.
You have to get rid of.
See what else we got.
The NASA team is ready for launch.
Jedi Knight.
So, oh, this has got that. It's got that rotoscope blade Omni Swing or whatever it's called. So the config, all of the blades are my own custom blades, and I threw those on the config. The SD card's got a bunch of fonts loaded on it, but the active config I think has 12 fonts that you can choose from. And I think that's it. Just a nice quick video. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. To the client, thank you very much for trusting me with your build. To the viewers, if anyone has any questions, if I could try to not hit my camera up there. So the viewers, if anyone has any questions, please don't be a stranger. Reach out. And with that being said, may the force be with you always.